Talk Radio. You're in to all things music.
Welcome to Making It with Terry Woolman, the show that explores the secrets, successes, and strategies for making it in the music biz. And now, here's your host, Terry Woolman.
Welcome to the show, and thanks for tuning in. I want to say a quick thank you to my guest on last week's episode, West Coast artist rep for Mark of the Unicorn, Matt LaPointe. If you didn't get to hear it, you can listen to all of our episodes at entertalkradio.com/makingit or download our app and take us with you. Also, be sure to tune in next week to hear my conversation with Grammy-nominated platinum-selling artist Dave Koz. You don't want to miss that one. I'd like to take a moment to also thank the companies that help me sound my best, whether I'm performing live or in the studio recording and producing music. Blue Microphones, Taylor Guitars, Duesenberg Guitars, Seymour Duncan Pickups, Mesa Boogie Amps, D'Addario Strings and Planet Waves, Motu Digital Performer, IK Multimedia, Fishman Acoustic Amps, and Exotic Effects. So often I get asked questions about the creative process, so I created this show to focus on what it takes to have a lasting career in the ever-changing landscape of the music business. You're really in for a treat, as I've invited my friends, some of the best and brightest in music, to share their stories on how they have influenced the music that has shaped our lives. I guarantee you're going to love it. So let's get started. My guest today is international recording artist Greg Manning. Greg Manning is a Berklee College music alum and an amalgam of cultures. He was born in Nigeria and raised in Switzerland. Greg moved to Los Angeles in 2002 and has had an incredible career. He is a 3-time certified platinum producer for Universal Music Switzerland and has had several Swiss chart toppers since 1996. Greg is the former keyboardist and music director for Grammy Award-nominated artist Jonathan Butler and keyboardist for Mindi Abair, Gerald Albright, Will Downing, Richard Elliot, Brian McKnight, Chante Moore, and Kirk Whalum, just to mention a few. After touring extensively for 10 years throughout the U.S., Europe, South Africa, and the U.K., Greg made a conscious decision to come off the road. Not too long thereafter, he started composing music for film and television. As an artist, his own music is the union of jazz, soul, and funk, and has been described as soul jazz at its best, which can clearly be heard on his latest album, Sugar and Spice. Released on Kalimba Records, the title track recently reached number 5 on Billboard, spending 20 weeks on the charts. Please welcome my guest today, Greg Manning. Hi, Greg. Welcome.
Hey, Terry. Thank you for having me. What an introduction. Very nice. Thank you.
You're very welcome. There's a lot that you have accomplished in your career, and I have a lot of questions to ask you. So why don't we just start? You were born in Nigeria and grew up in Switzerland. In what ways do you think growing up in Europe has influenced you both as a musician and as a person?
Oh man, you're starting with the deep questions.
Yeah, I'm just jumping right in.
Oh, very nice. I have to say I love the U.S. I've been living here for a long time. But sometimes I think, America is a little bit like an island. And Europe is different. Countries are much closer together, so you get to travel a lot more in Europe. You get to speak other languages a lot more. And I just think, the mix of cultures is different in Europe. And Switzerland, officially Switzerland is neutral, but there are so many different cultures and, it's just people living together. And it was a great place for me to grow up as a kid. And then later on, I went to high school there. It was just a great place to be exposed to culture and people. And also, one thing I always think about, radio is it's kind of different in Switzerland and I think in Europe altogether. Sometimes I think here in America, radio is kind of segregated. You have a rock station, you have an R&B station, you have a rap station.
Right.
In Switzerland, one song is rap and the next song is rock. Then you hear Earth, Wind & Fire. Sometimes you even hear classical. So there's a lot more mixture going on than over here. So
it used to be that way more growing up. When I was a kid growing up in Florida, it was more what you're describing.
Oh, okay. What do you think changed that?
I would imagine money. I don't know in which way, but I also know that there's such a huge American just a need to categorize artists in music, and it seems like perhaps it's not quite that way in Europe.
Yes. Yeah, I think that's a little bit different. And just looking at myself, looking at my own musical development, I used to be like that as well. Early on, I listened a lot to R&B, jazz, and not so much to rock, classical music. But just later on, I think, while I was at Berklee, that really expanded my horizon. And I started to see beauty in any kind of genre in music. To me, it's either good music or bad music. It's not even bad music. It's just music that touches me and music that just leaves me cold.
Right.
But there are some, there's beautiful stuff in orchestral, classical, Stravinsky, Tchaikovsky, Mahler, and then there's groove, Earth, Wind & Fire, Sly, The Family Stone. There's just so much. And I think it's kind of, it's kind of sad if you only listen to one thing.
Oh, I agree. I agree. And it was one of the things that I got out of, probably one of the best things that I got out of Berklee as well when I was there, which was a few years before you. But the music that we were kind of forced to be exposed to, and I'm very grateful. We were encouraged, but it was required. We were required to listen to all kinds of music and have a point of view about it. Yeah. Yes, absolutely. I was a film scoring major. Yes.
So, I all of a sudden I had to listen to classical compositions and analyze them. And
right.
It was a big wake-up call for me. Just steering away from 2/5 grooves, R&B and
sure.
jazz.
So let's talk about your family. Did your mom and dad encourage you to be an artist and a musician?
Good question. Yes and no. My dad used to work for a TV station, for a Swiss broadcast station, and he was involved in the music industry. And he always, in a way, he encouraged me to become a musician, but in a way, he also cautioned me because, the road we're on can be very rocky.
Yes.
Sometimes for no reason, you're working like crazy, and then the next month, you're wondering why the phone doesn't ring.
Right.
So he always cautioned me and said, you have to be a strong individual to survive in this business.
Your dad is a wise man.
I know. But in general, I got a lot of support from my parents. Oh, definitely. A lot of support. Yes.
And you started playing piano at age 12. I know Stevie Wonder was, of course, a big influence on you, but what or who else led you to the piano?
Oh, boy. I mean, in the beginning, it was really Stevie and Herbie Hancock. First, it was Stevie, and then I ran to the record store to get his first, my first CD record was Songs in the Key of Life. And it's still my favorite record, my most favorite record on this planet.
That's pretty heady choices of artists as a 12-year-old. Songs in the Key of Life and Herbie.
I know, and I'm not sure why, And Herbie, I came to Herbie in a very funny way. Herbie did a little demo for the Fender Rhodes pianos. It wasn't even a real vinyl album. It was kind of I don't even know how to call it. It was like a foldable album. And,
wow.
and it was basically just a demo for the Fender Rhodes piano, electric piano.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And somehow I got a hold of it. I think a friend of mine showed it to me, played it for me, and it changed my world. I mean, first of all, just the sound of a real electric piano, the Fender Rhodes. I mean, to this day, to me, it's just magical. And then what Herbie played, I think my brain didn't understand it, but what I felt was really just something else. And to this day, nobody plays like Herbie.
Right.
And I've tried for many years now to just, sound like him a little bit, and I'll never succeed.
One of the other things that's magical is that you still have your Fender Rhodes from when you were a kid. We've recorded with that instrument. It's a beautiful instrument, and you have such a deep relationship with it. Yes. My dad bought it for me in Switzerland. I think I was 15, so many, many years ago. And even when I moved to America, I brought it with me. It actually traveled over the big pond, and it's here at the studio. And you're right there, we've recorded many songs together. Yeah. And that Fender Rhodes is on many songs that we did. Yes. Absolutely. Yeah. So what were your early music studies like? When you were 12, was there already a piano in the house, or did your mom and dad get one? And did you get a teacher right away, or were you learning on your own at the beginning? What was that like for you when you started?
Correct. I'm self-taught, not kind of. I am self-taught. The first 3 years, I just listened to records and I tried to imitate what I heard on those records. Mm-hmm. And then my parents noticed that I'm really serious about it, and they got a classical music teacher for me.
Oh, that's great.
That's when my formal training started. But I think the roots is really I'm self-taught. I try to figure it out for myself, in a way that is good, and in a way it has its own dangers, because sometimes if you don't know what you're doing, you adapt some crazy stuff that is hard to get rid of. Yeah. My hero, Stevie, is a perfect example. It took me about 20 years to figure out the way Stevie plays piano is actually not correct. He hardly ever uses his thumb. And right. That's also part of the magic of Stevie Wonder, especially when he plays clarinet. Yes. I mean, it's just wonderful.
Well, that being self-taught certainly hasn't hurt Stevie, and knowing you as well as I do, I don't think it's hurt you. I think it's part of what's so unique and wonderful about your approach, as a composer and as a player. Yeah.
Thanks for saying that. I mean, sometimes since I learned music through my ears first, sometimes weaknesses like sight reading, that kind of stuff, I have to constantly work on it to keep it up. It doesn't come as easy to me as a classically trained piano player.
Mm-hmm. Right. You received a scholarship to study film scoring at Berklee. That's really amazing.
That's right. That's right. I was surprised. My family was surprised. in those days, you basically just send a tape. And I sent a tape, didn't hear for weeks, and all of a sudden we got this letter from Berklee saying that congratulations, you're accepted, and you got a scholarship. So I was very happy about that.
I'm saying it's amazing because I could barely get them to sign my financial aid, student loan forms. So I'm incredibly impressed with you.
Oh, no. Maybe they listened to the wrong tape. I don't know. But because, Terry, let me tell you, when I got there, I clearly remember my first night at Berklee. I got there early, probably 2 or 3 days early before the semester started. Mm-hmm. And I sneaked down into the practice rooms. As you remember, there were like hundreds of practice rooms. Very, very small rooms, but they all had a piano in them.
Yeah.
And man, I listened to those. Yeah. Yes. I listened to those kids, 18, 19-year-old kids play the piano. I was ready to go home. Right. I was just, so impressed, very impressed. Mm-hmm. But I stuck around.
What was the best and also what was the most challenging part of going to Berklee for you?
The most challenging thing was probably coming up with the money.
Yeah.
As I said, my parents were very supportive, but they said, and it's very smart of them, they said, if you're really serious about it, you will find a way to pay for your education.
Yeah.
And that's what I did. So, many people don't know this, but in order to earn money for Berklee, I was actually a flight attendant on Swiss Air.
Wow.
That position doesn't exist anymore, but it was called seasonal flight attendant. Right. So prior to going to Berklee, I flew for about 1.5 years. And then every summer break, I went back to Switzerland, and I was a flight attendant on Swiss Air.
That's fantastic. That's, and that's great.
Yeah. So that was one of the hardest things, as you know, just coming up with tuition.
Yeah, that was a challenge for many of us that were there. I put myself through school as well, and so I respect you deeply for that. We're heading into our first break, so we will be right back. And please stick around. And I'm here with my guest and friend Greg Manning, and we have lots of stories to share with you. So we'll be right back.
Are you serious about your music? Are you ready to run with the big dogs? The experts at Pitbull Audio have the gear to get you into the game. From leading manufacturers like Mesa Boogie, Fender, Pioneer, and American Audio. To sound your best, you need the best. Pitbull Audio can deliver in rehearsal, on stage, and into the big time. Dropping beats, shredding guitar, or making the crowd roar. Whatever you dream, Pitbull Audio can help make it happen. We are Pitbull Audio. We want you to play it loud. PitbullAudio.com.
You know what's all around you every waking moment of your life? Marketing. You're choking on it. I'm Scott Robertson, and when it comes to strategic PR, branding, and marketing, I've seen it all. And actually, I'm still seeing it because bad marketing never sleeps. Join me each week on May the Best Brand Win, right here on Intertalk Radio, and learn how to make the marketing for your brand unforgettable.
Hi, I'm Tim Dolbear, the host of Sound Experience on Intertalk Radio. Each week, I talk with top professional audio engineers, producers, musicians, and the manufacturers that make the tools that we use in the studio each and every day. From capturing the perfect take to mastering your final release, and the tools and how the pros use them, we are going to dive deep into their process and learn from their experience. I look forward to you joining us each week on Sound Experience with me, your host, Tim Dolbear.
This is Jackie Bertoni from Jackie's Groove. Come join me weekly on my journey through the music business as I take you behind the velvet rope, interviewing industry notables such as Al Di Meola, Michael McDonald, and Al Jarreau, to name but a few. Listen to their stories on being in the studios recording #1 hits and onto the stages throughout the globe. Allow me to be your music historian. You can hear me live every Monday at 2 p.m. and every Wednesday at 12 noon Pacific Standard Time or 24/7 on jackiesgroove.com. Ready to get your groove on?
Hey, this is Dave Koz, and you're listening to Making It with Terry Whalum.
Welcome to Making It with Terry Whalum, the show that explores the secrets, successes, and strategies for making it in the music biz. And now, here's your host, Terry Whalum.
Welcome back. I'm here with my guest, Greg Manning, and you are listening to, what was the name of that song?
Dance With You.
Dance With You. I believe that was that Bruce Nazarian on guitar?
That is correct, Terry.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That was my very first radio single.
Yes.
And Bruce played on it. Yes, the late Bruce Nazarian. Yeah.
Little piece of studio trivia.
Yes.
After you finished school, you co-wrote and toured with a successful musical entitled "Keep Cool," which is the longest running. Right. Wasn't it the longest running German language musical?
That's right. Yes. Yeah. I got very lucky. While I was still at Berklee, a comedian from Switzerland, who was kind of famous, well established. A comedian from Switzerland called me in Boston and he said, "Hey, Greg, I heard your music and I want to write a musical with you." And of course, I was kind of laughing because I thought this would never happen. In our industry, people talk a lot. But at the end of the day, nothing happens. Terry, a week later, the guy stood at my doorstep in Boston and we started writing. Yeah, we started writing and it started it started kind of small in Switzerland, in a city called Zug, and it just got bigger and bigger and snowballed into a really big production. And we played Switzerland for about 1.5 years, and then moved to Germany and played in Germany for, I think, 1.5 years as well. And
that's remarkable.
I was lucky to co-write a lot of the songs, write a lot of the songs. And also, I was the musical director for the live production.
So you went right from school to a job.
Yes, very unusual. And here's something that my son should not hear, but I actually never finished college because I thought after the musical, maybe a year later, I would go back and finish Berklee. Right. But unfortunately, that just never happened. I never went back.
Yeah, I won't be the one to tell him. But,
thank you.
But there is something about Berklee that's kind of a well-known fact that there are a lot of people that go through that school, and some of the best musicians never graduate. The good things happen for them before they graduate, and their career takes off, and so it's
absolutely. I mean, I don't want to put myself on the same level, but my heroes, Herbie, Chick Corea, and a host of others, they never graduated.
Right.
And I think, having a degree is very important. Mm-hmm. But to me, what's even more important is just gathering the knowledge, being exposed to knowledge, being exposed to great players.
Right.
And the curriculum at Berklee was incredible. But even more so was just the company, You can call a fellow musician and jam 3 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
And, that's just incredible. And that's the part that I enjoy tremendously at Berklee.
Well, and some of those musicians are the people that you've gone on to tour and record with. And, and have remained your friends. And as similar to my experience when I was there, did you know back then, some of the people that were your fellow classmates, which ones of them were going to stand out as being successful? Could you tell?
I think so. I mean, those were always the people that I greatly admired. Mm-hmm. The Hathaway sisters were there. Kenya, Layla was there. Yeah. And I was always amazed by their talent. Mm-hmm. Another keyboard player, Dave Stallone, was there. Just killing it on the keys. Every time I saw him play, I was like, oh, that boy's going to go far. And, of course, he did,
Yes.
Tonight Show Band and everything else. And Mindi was there as well. But funny enough, I never really played with Mindi Abair while she was at Berklee.
Ah, but you were friends or you back then or not too much?
Yes, but just kind of like acquaintance. Never really played with her.
Sure.
On a stage at Berklee. It was funny. But a big thing that happened to me at Berklee as well was, of course, Jonathan Butler.
Yeah, I want to talk about Jonathan. How did you meet Jonathan?
A professor organized a master class with Jonathan, and he put a band together to support Jonathan. And I was in the band. And the funny thing is, when Jonathan's first album, I think it was called Introducing Jonathan Butler, was a double album. When that thing came out, I ran to the store to get it.
Me too.
I was such a huge fan. I think Lies was on there, incredible production, Barry Eastman, and I ran to get the album. And fate would have it that a few years later I would actually play with him.
Yeah.
And we hit it off really well. He liked my playing. We stayed in touch. And after my musical experience in Switzerland, I moved back to the States. And he called me to go on tour with him, to play with him, which it changed my life.
Yeah.
To go on tour with such a musical giant.
Well, it led to over a decade of performing with him, not just as his keyboard player, but eventually becoming his music director.
Yes. I mean, to this day, we're still friends. I became his MD, and we also started writing songs together. It's something that Jonathan doesn't really do. Jonathan doesn't really co-write, but we recorded, I think, 2 songs on his CDs.
That's fantastic.
I'm very, very proud of. Yes. And, needless to say, I was so, young, green, inexperienced, and I don't know why, but he saw or heard something in me that I did not know I had.
Right.
And just, every night, just listening to the man on the guitar and his vocals, it showed me a lot. One thing that Jonathan showed me was, getting, how can I say this, getting between the notes or just, getting into the cracks of music. And really, when you play over chords, really fleshing out the harmony, staying lyrical and really, even with single lines, just outlining the chords. And Jonathan is just such a master of that.
Yeah, he's a rhythmic master too, with playing with the time and really laying on the backside of the groove, but still keeping it exciting.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, his vocals. I've played keyboards for a lot of singers, and I've played with him for 9 years. I have never heard a wrong pitch of Jonathan's. I mean, it sounds like I'm making this up, but I'm actually not. I'm convinced he has perfect pitch. He just doesn't know it. I'm convinced. Yeah.
What would you say were the biggest lessons you learned from your experience working with JB?
The biggest thing, I think it's music first. JB still has to this day a very successful career, but there has been up and downs, and he's never been really fazed by all of this, because to him, music first. And that's a mantra that I'm sticking to.
Right.
If you don't think about music first, you can get crazy. There's so many things to think about, management, marketing, radio, how commercial is my music. And I think it just drives you crazy.
Right.
To me, music first, everything follows after that.
I love that you said that. And, it's something I remind myself daily. And I want to talk to you about, being, you went back to Zurich, Switzerland after you finished your play. You became you focused on composing and producing for records and had a great deal of success there. And then you decided to move back to the U.S. permanently, especially in this time right now, politically, this question, I find even more curious. Was it difficult to get a work visa or passport at that time? And do you think you'd be able to get one now?
Well, here's a little bit of trivia that many people don't know. I've actually always had an American passport, because my biological father, he is American, and just through birth, I always had a passport. So I never had to apply for a visa.
Great. Right.
I never had to do this. But nowadays in this administration, if I didn't have a passport, I don't know. I think it would be difficult for me. Yeah, probably.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
How did you choose Los Angeles, Gregory, as the city that you wanted to live in? Why not New York or Boston or Chicago or another country?
I did a little detour, because first we moved to Atlanta. We lived in Atlanta for about 5 years. Mm-hmm. And I played with some incredible musicians down there, Sonny Emery, Darian Emery, just Phil Davis, just a great group of people that accepted me, that took me in. Right. I was in Sonny Emery's band, Hypnofunk, and just another great experience. Mm-hmm. But at that time, I already was touring with Jonathan, and Jonathan always said, "Hey, Greg, what are you doing in Atlanta? You should come to LA. There's more recording sessions, just more opportunities for you." Mm-hmm. And I guess it took me 5 years to believe him. But in 2002, I thought, maybe he has a point. And I moved to LA in 2002. And funny, the very first recording session I did when I moved here was with Mindi Abair. Oh. It was on Mindi's first record that did very, very well. So all like her first hits, Flirt, that's me on keyboards.
Oh, that's great.
Flirt, Lucy, all that stuff. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
in general, I love LA. As a musician, it's great, but it also keeps you on your toes, because there's a ton of talented people, and there's always somebody who can actually play your gig.
Yes.
So it's great because it keeps you on your toes.
Mm-hmm. Well, speaking of Mindi Abair, you've performed with saxophonist Mindi Abair, Gerald Albright, Richard Elliot, Eric Marienthal, Johnny Vancini, Kirk Whalum, just to name a few. You really seem to have excellent taste in sax players.
Yeah. I'm really blessed, to be exposed to that many great sax players. I'm not sure what happened, but it's really true. It's really true. Yes.
You also toured, one of your first big pop tours or R&B tours was with artist Brian McKnight. Was that a good fit musically for you? It seems like it would be.
Yes, it was kind of challenging because I clearly remember I had to learn the entire show within a week. Mm. For some reason, his piano player got fired, and I got the call in Atlanta. Uh-huh. They said, "Hey, Greg, would you like to accept this gig? The only thing is, you have to learn the show within a week." And of course, I was familiar with Brian's music, but here's a big but. Yeah. On his records, his music is very, let's say, very radio friendly, very linear. Not many hits, not many breaks. then they sent me the live tape for the live show, the concert. And man, like every other bar, there was something special in there. So I think I stayed up for 72 hours straight to learn his show. But
who recommended you for that? What was the connection to Brian?
I think it was Lil Jon, the Janet Jackson's drummer at that time. I think he recommended me, and I got the gig through him. They flew me to LA. The funny thing is, I played with the band for about 3 hours without Brian being there, and then he came in for maybe 2 minutes, listened to everything, nodded, and left, and that was him. So that was my audition.
Well, clearly he liked what he heard.
Yes, I guess so. I mean, great experience. And maybe I shouldn't say this, but the funny thing is, when I did the Back at One tour in 2001.
Yes.
And my most favorite part of the show was actually when Brian was just sitting by himself,
playing
just voice
and
and piano.
Yeah.
There was like a small segment, 10 minutes, where he was just by himself, spotlights, just him and the piano. Man, I mean, the way he accompanies himself with all the reharms, all the church stuff he puts in there is amazing.
Yeah, he has a really deep sense of harmony. I love
crazy.
When I hear him play it.
Yes, absolutely.
We have about a minute before we go into our next break. Can you tell people where they can find your music and your website and your newest album?
Oh, okay, sure. So my latest album is called Sugar and Spice. I'm on the Kalimba music label that was founded by Maurice White. And my website is greg-manning.com. And, you can find my music on iTunes, on Amazon, on all the digital outlets.
There are also, if you search Greg Manning on YouTube, you will see a lot of, and hear a lot of great performances from all around the world. So we will be right back. I invite everybody to stick around for more stories. I want to talk about what it's like being a dad and how that influences you as an artist. So stick around.
Everybody, this is Phil Perry. Stay tuned for another portion of Making It with Terry.
Hi, this is Tim Dolbear, host of Sound Experience here on Intertalk Radio. And Source Connect by Source Element is the essential tool that we use to link between my studio in Austin, Texas and the WS radio station in San Diego. Now with Source Connect, not only can we communicate in real time and with HD audio, but it's synced up and is of a high enough quality that I can use it for real-time ADR work, remote recording and overdubbing, and it even allows me to remotely control a DAW. Source Connect by Source Element. Affordable, high-quality audio and video connection over the internet for all of your production needs.
You know what's all around you every waking moment of your life? Marketing. You're choking on it. I'm Scott Robertson, and when it comes to strategic PR, branding, and marketing, I've seen it all. And actually, I'm still seeing it because bad marketing never sleeps. Join me each week on May the Best Brand Win, right here on Intertalk Radio, and learn how to make the marketing for your brand unforgettable.
Make this your vinyl night. I'm John J.R. Robinson, and every week, music creation comes alive through stories, experiences, and sounds when vinyl records filled our hearts and minds. My friends and I share our tips and techniques used in creation of iconic tracks for recording artists such as Michael Jackson, Eric Clapton, Quincy Jones, and Steve Winwood, to name a few. Vinyl has emerged hot, and the soul of vinyl defines art and passion which burns deepest at night. Tune in.
Are you serious about your music? Are you ready to run with the big dogs? The experts at Pitbull Audio have the gear to get you into the game. From leading manufacturers like Mesa Boogie, Fender, Pioneer, and American Audio. To sound your best, you need the best. Pitbull Audio can deliver in rehearsal, on stage, and into the big time. Dropping beats, shredding guitar, or making the crowd roar. Whatever you dream, Pitbull Audio can help make it happen. We are Pitbull Audio. We want you to play it loud. PitbullAudio.com.
Hi, this is Matt LaPointe from Motu. You're listening to Making It with Terry Whalum.
Welcome to Making It with Terry Whalum, the show that explores the secrets, successes, and strategies for making it in the music biz. And now, here's your host, Terry Whalum.
Welcome back. You're listening to pianist, composer, producer Greg Manning. I love that song, Gregory.
Oh, thank you. The Calling. That's one of my favorite as well.
It is too? Yeah. It's so much fun to listen to, and it's equally fun to play.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Let's talk about your amazing son. He's such a great kid, and you and your wife have raised him, with a lot of love and also focus, and given him great direction. And I'm wondering, how has being a dad influenced you as an artist?
Oh boy, that's a deep question. I'm not sure if I'm equipped to really answer this. It's just having a kid, just in general, it puts everything into focus, and it shows you the priorities in life. And I think, he's now 14, and I think I became even more serious about music in general by just, having him and seeing this new life in front of me. And I think, it's a deep question. I'm not really sure how to answer it. I think it's just, having a kid changes everything. Once you become a parent, your life will never be the same.
Right.
And, of course, there's always ups and downs. Now he's going through puberty. So, sometimes some days are easier than others. But I just love being a dad. I love having a son, And just the other day, I talked to a friend. Just the other day, I kind of came to the conclusion, for us parents, I think the most important thing for us to do is provide the soil, so to speak, so the tree can grow in the direction it needs to grow. And maybe, a few years ago, I thought, oh, no, he should do this, he should do that, he needs to become this, and I've revised my opinion. I just think we as parents need to provide, and at the end of the day, the most beautiful thing would be if they just, they become independent, fully grown, and they become who they're supposed to be. And, speaking of music, I think sometimes as musicians, as composers, we also get in the way of our own music. Our own ego dictates some things. But I think when you get out of the way, some songs, not all of them, but the strong songs, they just write they just write them itself, you know. We don't really have to be so concerned about it. And sometimes it's just good to step back, watch things, and just let them happen.
Right. Well, thanks for letting me ask you that question.
Sure. I'm not sure how eloquently I answered it because it's such a deep question. It's like it's like the same question: what is life? I don't know. You know, maybe at the end of my life I will know. But just in general, having a kid, you know, son or daughter, it's the greatest thing. It's also the most difficult thing.
Right.
And unfortunately, they don't come with instruction manuals.
Right.
So, you know, you can ask your parents, you can ask your grandparents, but basically you got to figure it out yourself how you're going to handle, you know, raising a kid. But so far, so good.
That's true. Well,
since you know, the funny thing is he's 14, but he's 6'3", and I'm 6'1". So now I'm looking up when I'm talking to my son.
Yeah. It's been amazing to watch him sprout over this past year.
I know. And, you know, maybe your listeners don't know this, but we used to be neighbors. So you used to see Noah all the time. Yeah,
I've gotten to watch him grow up, and it's really been, it's been nice. It's been nice to be a part of your family in that way. Yeah.
Thank you. Likewise.
Thank you. I read a quote of yours about your transition from sideman to artist when you were preparing for your debut album, The Calling, and you said, I think for any sideman, there always comes a time when you hear your own voice and you want to do your own thing.
Yes. I felt that for a long time because, you know, I'm a keyboard player, I'm a piano player, but I think at heart, I'm really a composer. And I've always composed music, always composed my own music. And I mean, don't get me wrong, I love playing keyboards for other artists. But to me, at the end of the day, when you get to perform your own music, it's just a great feeling. You know, the feeling of sharing your songs with an audience, hearing and feeling the response, it's a great experience. And funny, you know, I always hear music. I don't even know if it's maybe illness, but you know,
some people call it a gift.
I don't know. You know, sometimes I think maybe there's a little man in there that needs to shut up once in a while. But you know, sometimes I get up and I hear a song, or I just walk and I hear music. But in general, it's a good thing, definitely. Yes. But I think, you know, I mean, same for you. You know, you do the sideman thing as well, but, you know, I think for you as well, being an artist is just different. I don't want to say it's better or worse, but it's just different. And it took me a while to feel comfortable being an artist.
Yes.
You know, when you're backing up an artist, you can always hide behind your instrument. You don't have to be that visible. Right. And it took me a while to feel like a frontman. And
it's more revealing. There's less to hide behind, like you're saying, when you're playing your music and the people are there to see you.
Absolutely.
There's another responsibility that comes with that. Yeah.
Exactly. You also have the responsibility. It's up to you to entertain the audience. You know, and playing your song well, playing your instrument well is one thing, but just, you know, the entertainment aspect is very important. I think especially in smooth jazz, a very important aspect.
Yeah. Well, that's, you know, performing is an art, and it's an art that takes a long time to learn, and it's not something they really teach you in school as much as you know, that's why it's so important to get out and play. And I learned as much playing in the clubs at night as I did during the day in the classroom, but one without the other would have been an incomplete experience for me.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And you know, I mean, I treasure my experience playing with humans. And this sounds kind of funny because lately, you know, computers have kind of taken over in the studio. Right. And I'm also guilty of it. I program a lot of my music. But I think the big difference is between me and like, you know, I hate the term, but still, you know, kids. Mm-hmm. Kids nowadays, they've only played with computers. Right. They don't know what it feels like to play in a band, to actually have the interaction with others. So even in my work, when I program music with the computer, I try to be interactive, and I try to make it feel human. And that means, you know, sometimes I play mistakes, and I actually let them stay. I do not correct my errors anymore.
Right.
It's kind of funny.
I think it's one of the things that that I agree with you on, you know, as the importance of playing music is going for the emotion and the moment. And the perfection is in that. It's in capturing that. It's not in having the exact right notes or, you know, it's the human factor.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. You know, I got lucky to work with Eric Dobler, who used to be George Duke's engineer for decades. Yes. And Eric told me that George always said that perfection is highly overrated. and when you think about it, you know, coming from someone like George Duke, it's like, wow, really? It's just amazing, you know?
Yeah.
And another thing, if we have time, just quickly, I want to mention it. And I think for your listeners, this will be also kind of informative. My first record was The Calling. And, you know, it didn't do actually anything. I didn't sell many copies because besides the music, I forgot to promote the music. and that all changed with the next, with Dance With You, when I got signed to a label. So I think, you know, as an artist, the music is first, very important. But one should not forget that you should also promote your music. You have to go to radio. You have to get a radio promoter. You know, you just have to be visible. So I urge all the geniuses that do music in their bedrooms. That's a great thing. But at the end, the music has to go out, and you have to promote it.
Yes, I'm so glad that you said that. You know, and the fact that in 2014 Maurice White signed you, you know, to his label, Kalimba, was really wonderful because I know what a fan you are of him as an artist and a producer, and it must, you know, what an honor to be signed by one of your musical influences.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I think still 1 week after I signed the contract, I was still in denial. I pinched myself every other second because, as you said correctly, you know, growing up in Switzerland, I listened to Earth, Wind & Fire religiously.
Right.
And, you know, what a band. And then to be signed to Maurice's label years later, it was just really a big honor. And I, you know, shout out to Jason Goroff, who hooked me up with Ted Joseph of Kalimba, who's running the label. So that connection was very, very helpful.
Right. Ted has been a big advocate for you at the label and believing in you and appreciating your talent. And and Jason Goroff and Cliff Goroff, you and I both work with them to promote our music, and they're fantastic people and really have a lot of knowledge and integrity.
Knowledge and integrity. You couldn't have put it better. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
We, boy, there's so much more we can talk about. We've got about 3.5 minutes left. So I want to ask you a question that I ask all of my guests, and you can take a moment to think about it. And here's the question, Gregory. At this point of your life, with everything that you know to be true, what would you tell your younger self?
That's an easy one because I thought about this lately. Be fearless. You know, when I was younger, I was thinking too much about conventions, about, like musically a song should have that form, or you know, I think it's important to be fearless, and it's important to break rules. I think that's very important. And, you know, I mean, I think the best way to be creative is when you don't fear anything. When you don't think about ratings, about radio programming, about budget constraints when you actually record. I think just, you know, it leads to a freer life in general. So when I was younger, I was thinking about these things maybe too much. I was a little bit too fearful. And just, you know, the older I get, the more I feel secure. You know, whatever happens tomorrow, it may not be great, but at the end of the day, it's going to be okay. I'm going to be landing on my feet.
Yes. More than that. It brings you to having a remarkable life.
Yes.
Well, you were speaking about promotion. And so let's take the last minute of the show to promote your new record, Sugar and Spice. What is it about your new album that you want people to know?
I'd like people to know that it's a variety of grooves, variety of different moods. It's not just one thing. I think it would be hard to just label it as like a smooth jazz record or just a funk record. You know, it has an orchestral piece in there. Oh, it has a piece that you and I wrote together, Esperanza, together with Richard Hernandez.
Right.
You know, a very, very, very lovely piece that we wrote together, and you co-produced it. And it's just, you know, like a potpourri of different ingredients, sugar and spice.
And where can people find it?
People can find it on iTunes, on Amazon. I think you can go to my website, greg-manning.com, and you'll find links on there too.
Great. And once again, we're going to post, Gregory, we're going to post your link on the Enter Talk Radio website so people can read about you and hear this interview again. They can stream it and download it for free, and also go directly to your website from our website. So thank you so much for spending the hour with me. I really appreciate it and appreciate you, Greg. You're a great talent.
Terry, thanks for having me. That was really fun, you know, long overdue, and I had a great time. It's
well worth the wait.
I'm looking at my watch now. 1 hour. That's incredible. Okay.
We'll see everybody next week with my interview with Dave Koz. Have a great week. Thank you.
Thanks.
Tune in again next week for another great episode of Making It with Terry Whalum.
This is Jackie Bertoni from Jackie's Groove. Come join me weekly on my journey through the music business as I take you behind the velvet rope, interviewing industry notables such as Al DiMeola, Michael McDonald, and Al Jarreau, to name but a few. Listen to their stories on being in the studios recording #1 hits and onto the stages throughout the globe. Allow me to be your music historian. You can hear me live every Monday at 2 p.m. and every Wednesday at 12 noon Pacific Standard Time or 24/7 on jackiesgroove.com. Ready to get your groove on?
Hi, this is Tim Dolbear from Eclectica Studios. I'm a full-time mixing and recording engineer. I work with Grammy winners, labels, and indie artists, using state-of-the-art digital mixing and restoration tools and the very best in analog gear. Really, though, it's my ability to bring tracks to life and fulfill your vision for your music. This has made me sought after by producers and artists worldwide. So spend your time working on music and not chasing a mix down a rabbit hole. Go to timdolbear.com and check out our free one-song mix offer.
You know what's all around you every waking moment of your life? Marketing. You're choking on it. I'm Scott Robertson, and when it comes to strategic PR, branding, and marketing, I've seen it all. And actually, I'm still seeing it because bad marketing never sleeps. Join me each week on May the Best Brand Win, right here on Intertalk Radio, and learn how to make the marketing for your brand unforgettable.
Are you serious about your music? Are you ready to run with the big dogs? The experts at Pitbull Audio have the gear to get you into the game. From leading manufacturers like Mesa Boogie, Fender, Pioneer, and American Audio. To sound your best, you need the best. Pitbull Audio can deliver in rehearsal, on stage, and into the big time. Dropping beats, shredding guitar, or making the crowd roar. Whatever you dream, Pitbull Audio can help make it happen. We are Pitbull Audio. We want you to play it loud. PitbullAudio.com.